Well, hello there, church. It's unusual, I know, for you to be getting a second blog just hours after your last one, and it's late in the evening on Monday evening, the 29th of June, and I just want to say hi to all you members and friends of Hurst Family Church here in Halzowen in the West Midlands. Why am I doing this extra blog? Well, I appreciate that many of you are anxious to find out just when we'll be reopening the church building to resume Sunday services. So I thought it'd be good to speak to you all at once via a blog. I'm actually getting to enjoy doing these things. Now, as you all know, our Prime Minister has announced that churches can resume meetings in their buildings from, in fact, this coming Saturday, the 4th of July. Uh, However, what's not as yet been issued by the government is the small print that dictates exactly what we can and what we can't do. And believe me, this has left church leaders from all denominations around the country in a bit of a quandary. Now, there are lots of rumours flying around concerning issues like singing and chanting and social distancing and masks and practices for communion and the use of toilets, eating and drinking. But no one has yet come out and stated definitively any answers from the government on these matters. Now, it's understood that such detail is due to be released, and high-level discussions between church leaders and bishops and the government have been taking place concerning what the churches can and can't do. But right now, they haven't been released, and we're still not sure when they will be. So whatever we might decide to do right now could change next week or next month as these directives are released. That said, we have, of course, been giving serious prayerful consideration of the best way forward for us at Hurst. To my mind, there are three main issues that we need to address. And I just want to talk these through with you for a little while. First of all, it's safety. Our utmost priority, as and when we open the building for services, has to be the health and the safety of everyone who comes through those doors. We owe that to everybody that we invite into our church. We have an obligation, a duty of care towards them. And we have to put in place everything that is required of us regarding safety measures and ensure that our practices, our protocols, as it were, comply with the government guidelines. Now, as I say, at this moment in time, we don't know what those guidelines are going to be. But once we do know them, Jason and Tracy, God bless them, who've got vast experience in dealing with this, have offered to help us put in place everything that will be needed. But I have to give a clear warning, and is everybody listening? As and when we do open up, having to the best of our abilities put these safety precautions in place, the choice as to whether you come lies solely with you. In other words, you come to church at your own risk. The trustees have no desire to end up facing a lawsuit because you or someone in your household gets COVID-19 because you came to church. So just bear that in mind. We're going to do everything that we can if we're going to open up this building to put everything that's needed safety-wise into place. But even when we've done that, a bit like parking your car on our drive or our forecourt at the church, you do so at your own risk. Secondly, after safety, we have to consider family. Family. Hurst Family Church is a family church. We're all family. And now every family member has different needs to other family members from time to time. You know, what mum and dad with a newborn baby needs is very different to what the middle-aged professional couple need, to what the retired couple need within the church family. And it's the same in any family, in the natural family as well. But a loving, caring family, which we set out to be, will recognise these different needs of the different members of the family and do everything that we can to meet those needs of every member as far as we possibly can. You know, there will be, and there are those in our family, especially among the more senior members, who will say that there's no way they consider coming back to church until September or even later. Some of them are still shielding, and by law, they can't go out until, I think, sometime in August. And there are others who are really struggling to come to terms with leaving home after being shut up for so long, with mixing people, having not done the shopping or gone to groups, and the very thought for some people within our family of going into any building and mixing with people can be quite frightening, quite disconcerting. And so if we do start meetings again, these precious folk within our family, they need to feel thoroughly loved and accepted, and in no way at all made to feel guilty for not coming or pressurised to come against their will. They need to know that even if they can't make it, or they're not comfortable with coming, they are still loved, they're still wanted, and we'll still take care of them. We'll do what we can to get CDs or videos of stuff, what's going on, to them so that they don't feel left out. Now, there are other family members who are all fired up and raring to get back to church tomorrow, if not sooner. And you know, we need to hear their hearts too, their passions. We need to be able to do what we can to satisfy their needs and desires as best we can. And then probably have the majority somewhere in the middle who don't feel that strongly about either opening tomorrow or in September. They'll probably be the ones who come to the first meeting we have and then decide whether to come to the next one based upon their experience at the first. Which brings me nicely to the third issue that we have to consider, and that is the experience. The experience. What will the meetings be like if we do start having them in the near future? Again, it's difficult to answer this question right now because we're still awaiting those government guidelines. But if we are to believe any of the rumours, then we can have no praise and worship. All our fellowship is going to have to be at a distance between one another. You know, for a church like ours, a church that's been built on a prophetic word, which was rebuild the altar of worship in Hurst, and then to be a city of refuge where love and warmth and unconditional acceptance can be found. For us not to be able to worship with one another, for us not to be able to even hug each other or get close and have some real fellowship, you know, it's going to make a huge different experience to the one that we're used to until those restrictions are lifted. And when you add to that all the other stuff that's got to be done, like getting the church cleaned before and after, the use of the toilets and the cleaning before and after by whoever's using those toilets, the social distancing that's needed. Some in households it's not necessary, others from single person households it's still necessary. For what the protocols are for doing communion, and all the other small print that we might get from the government, suddenly you end up asking yourself, is it all worth it? Is it all worth it? Does the blessing that I get from going to a service that may be so restricted as to make it an ordeal rather than a joy, does that outweigh all the hassle? Especially when we seem to be having such a great impact through our online worship and our blogs and our Zoom meetings. Is the experience worth all of the effort involved? We don't know, not yet. So really, trying to get safety, family, and the experience itself all working together, what should we do? Where do we go from here? Well, we have come to a conclusion upon which Edwin and I have agreed. It's also been discussed and agreed with Graham. But it is a decision that is dependent upon the government guidelines being first of all issued. We've got to get them first, and then after we've reviewed them, considered workable by us as a church. So we have a conclusion, but it is utterly dependent upon those guidelines. And basically, the basic outline of our plan is for the church to meet in the building on alternative Sunday mornings throughout July and August, with a view to resuming normal meeting times as early as possible in September. Now, that plan can't commence until we've received the government guidelines and put in place the safety measures that those guidelines will require. But if those guidelines are received within the course of this current week that we're in, we're going to aim to hold our first meeting from 10:30 a.m. till 12 midday a week on Sunday, i.e. the 12th of July. Now, if these guidelines haven't been received on time, or we don't have time to put them into place, then the first meeting will be held 2 weeks later on Sunday, the 26th of July, or 2 weeks after that, and so on. And at any point in time, these plans are subject to change. Nothing can be set in stone whilst this pandemic is still at such high levels. It's hoped, we hope, we pray that by September levels will have dropped so significantly that many of the restrictions that the government have placed upon all walks of life will be dropped and enable us to get back to full-blown meetings. But the opposite could also happen. We may find ourselves in September wondering whether we can have our Christmas candlelight meeting. Who knows? Only God knows. And His will and His purposes are the only thing that really matters to us as His church. Now, I'm sorry this may have been a bit long-winded, but I really do want everyone to feel our hearts in making this decision, a decision that, as I say, is far from set in stone. We've got to strike a fine line, and it's not easy, especially when you still don't have all the facts. But I felt that it was important to at least share with the family of God in Hurst just what we're thinking at the moment and praying into. So please watch this space, and also the WhatsApp church group for any further announcements, which undoubtedly will be forthcoming in the not too distant future. So good night from me, and every blessing upon you and your households. Bye.